Hey, welcome back, friends, to Scrap Cooking. I'm Harriet Clooney. We're in the Urban Element kitchen, and this is the show where I'm going to show you how to use all the bits and bobs and its and things that you may usually just throw in the compost, and I'm going to show you how to make some cool stuff with it. So we can use all of the whole food that we're using, so we're reducing our waste as well as saving a bit of money and making some cool stuff. All right, so today's episode is going to be Plum Pit Vinegar, which sounds strange, I know, but it's actually very delicious. All right, before we get started, let's not forget to hit that like button and that subscribe button because then you will get notified when we've got a new video. There'll be some recipes, there'll be links to our website where you can get more content. You can watch episodes over and over and over again if you so desire. And we can be in contact. You can write, you can send me your suggestions or questions or comments, and awesome. So don't forget to do that. All right, so back to plums. I've got these beautiful plums from the Ottawa Farmers Market from Werner Farms. They are an Italian plum. They're beautiful. They are compact. They're packed with flavor. And inside, we've got the little pits. And that's what we're going to be using today. But there's tons of different kinds of plums. These ones are Italian plums. They're also similar to the German prune plum. And these ones are better for baking and cooking because they have sort of denser flesh. They're not quite as juicy. Whereas if you want like a plum that's an eating plum that you would see more in grocery stores, those ones have softer flesh and are really juicy, so they're really nice to eat fresh. But if you were to cook or bake with them, they would kind of disintegrate into a puddle of mush, which, while can be delicious if that's what you're going for, generally isn't what you're going for when we're baking. So these are the kinds of plums that are better for baking. And we are going to remove the pits. So first of all, they've got this little like, it looks like a bum. We won't say it doesn't, where the two sides of the fruit meet. So I usually just follow that little line all the way around. And then we can kind of just twist it, and then it is in half. So I'm gonna do that to all of them first because it's a lot faster when you're doing the same motion. So instead of opening one plum and then removing the pit and then putting it down and then opening another plum, removing the pit and put it down, it's actually a lot faster if you do all the same motion. So we're gonna open all our pits first, or all our plums first. And it doesn't so much matter if you're doing this amount of plums, not too many, but if you were doing a lot of plums, like in a restaurant, we call them second savers, and they do amount to a lot. So we get all our plums cut in half. All sorts of things we can do with the plums themselves, the fruit. I think my favorite one is, like we did the apple galette, making a plum galette works as well, and just the same way, just supplementing plums for apples. But you could make chutney, compotes, all sorts of stuff. Upside down cake. It's endless, and plum season is just about done, but we're lucky that we got some before it's over. And done. So now we've got all our plums cut in half. Now we're going to remove the pits. I'm going to take these guys, the little stems. We don't need those. And really, I'm just going to take a spoon and just kind of free it. Oh, just kind of get it out. You can go on one side and then the other side. Now, some kinds of plums and peaches are easier to remove the pits than others. This one is a pretty good one. Sometimes they get really stuck depending on your plum or peach, so you really gotta go in there on either side to kind of free it from the flesh. But yeah, so I'm just going on either side and just kind of pulling gently. Yeah, so if the plum is not very ripe, it'll be harder to take the pits out. So these ones are pretty much like right where we want them. It's near the end of the season, so they're pretty ripe. So it may be a bit harder to take out the pits if they're less ripe, but that's okay, especially if you're gonna bake them, because you're gonna add sugar to them. So, and that will also help if it's mushier kind of plum or peach, if it's less ripe, because it'll help the flesh stay a bit firmer. But for this one, I want their pits. So the pits are pretty cool. They are peach pits, plum pits, apricot pits. They're all in the same family as almonds. So they actually have this kind of annatto flavor. Oh, this one's gonna be a jerk. So this one is actually pretty, I guess he got a bruise. He's feeling really thick and hard. So that is gonna actually go in the compost, but we like his pit. Anyway, so traditionally they actually made amaretto, which is an almond flavor liqueur, with pits of peaches and plums, because it once it's soaked in alcohol, or in our case vinegar, it kind of has that sort of almondy flavor, which is really cool. And same thing, you can use peach pits, plum pits, apricot pits, and cherry pits as well. The cherry pits are more on the cherry end of things. They don't have the same amaretto flavor, but they're still really cool. You can do lots of stuff with them. Anything that you can do with a peach pit, you can, or a plum pit, you can do with a cherry pit. So we've got our pits. We're gonna put them aside, and now I'm gonna just take my fruit and put it aside in this bowl. And I think I'm gonna make a galette later. But some other things you could do with them, these are the kinds of plums that would also get made into prunes. They have that really, really dark blue looking flesh. And so those would be good to dehydrate. Once you've pit them, dehydrate them, and then you have prunes. Although I definitely think that prunes need an advertising makeover, and we should just call them dried plums, and I think people would be more inclined to eat them. But I digress. So, back to my pits. So there's a couple different ways that we can do this. So I've just got some, this is white wine vinegar. You can use cider vinegar, white vinegar, champagne vinegar, any kind of vinegar you want. I've chosen white wine vinegar because it has a nice, nice subtlety to it. You could use rice wine vinegar as well. And so one way to do it is we can just put these guys in here in a sterilized jar. And then pour our plum pits. Pour the vinegar on top, and then give it a good stir. Then we would put a hat on top. So a coffee filter or a tea towel, and put the lid on. And then we're gonna put it in a dark, cool place for about 3 weeks. And that will kind of, that activates all the nice bacteria, kind of ferments it a little bit, and also delicious. I am just going to do it the fridge method. So we're gonna put my vinegar on the stove, bring it to a boil, and then pour it over top. That's the wrong one. I'm just gonna bring it straight up to a boil. We have achieved boilage. I'm gonna turn that guy off. And I'm just gonna pour it, over top. And then we're gonna cool this down to room temperature and put it in the fridge for at least a week, and then it'll be good to use. So what I like about the vinegar itself, it kind of changes it, makes it like almost like a dessert vinegar. So it's really neat because it's got that sort of almond flavor. It's not sweet, but it's mellow. So it's not like a punch in the face like a lot of vinegars are. So I really like using it in place of lemon juice when baking. So if we were gonna add some lemon juice, say to our plums, before when we toss them with some sugar to put in a galette, I would use the Plum Pit vinegar instead. And so I find it really neat, and it's quite complex, so it's really cool. It's got this really amazing flavor to it that I really enjoy using. Here, there, and everywhere. You can do anything with it. You can do it with a vinegar. So you can make a vinaigrette with it. You can use it in anywhere you would use vinegar. But it's really, really cool, and I really love that we get to use the pits because they definitely seem like something that just gets, that you don't have anything else to do with it but throw it in the compost, which isn't true. So we're just gonna wait for that to come down to room temperature, and then we're gonna put it in the fridge. So that's our Plum Pit vinegar. Like I said, we need to cool it down all the way before we put a lid on it. It'll keep some bacteria from growing as well as messing with the temperature of your fridge. So we're gonna cool it down all the way to room temperature and then put a lid on it. And then again, wait a week so that you can get the flavors to combine and then use it any way you use vinegar or lemon juice. So that is our Plum Pit vinegar show. Thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you next time. And we'll see you again.